Good day, everybody. Welcome to another episode of The Ride with Under. It's a very special one today because we're talking about consumer advice. But before we get into that, I want to share something with you guys. Look at this. 1,000 subs. Shout out to everyone that has subscribed to the channel. If you haven't done so, please make sure that you hit that sub button. Please share it to your friends. Leave a comment for us below because we'd love to have some feedback from you. About consumer advice, we're talking about finance, we're talking about credit, and I could talk about this for a long time, but I'd rather have someone that is qualified, that's a professional and an expert in the field to come and address some of the issues and questions that you guys have been having on the channel. So there's been lots of questions, and I wanted to make sure that we cover as much as we possibly can. Now, the gentleman that I've got with me is a business and finance manager at BMW London. He's also worked inside a bank for a number of years, but now he's responsible to make sure that you get the best finance when you come buy your car at this dealership. His name is Mr. Mojalefe Rathulo. His own debut, so he's quite nervous in front of the camera, but he's here with us. My brother, thank you so much for being a part of the show. Welcome to it. Welcome to The Ride with Under.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure. Greetings to you and everyone out there.
Awesome stuff, man. Let's get straight into it.
Yep.
I've been in the industry now for about 17 years, and there's always this question that I get a lot. Credit score. What is a credit score? And just basically tell us how that works.
Okay. Credit score, basically, it's a number that represents a person's credit worthiness. So basically how it works is that the higher the score you have, the more eligible you are to actually obtain credit. So on the other hand, if your score is low, it becomes quite of a challenge for one to obtain credit. Not impossible as such, but if the credit provider do grant you credit, they might impose quite strict approval conditions, such as maybe a lower term or a higher deposit and so on and so forth. Okay. So that actually guides the credit provider to see whether it's worth taking the risk on their side.
Oh, so you spoke earlier on about credit scores being low and how they need to improve for people to get applications through.
Yeah.
What are some of the ways that people can improve their credit scores?
All right, there's a number of ways. So the most important and basic one is make sure that you pay your debts on time, whatever credit obligations you have, like personal loans, credit cards, clothing stores, and so on and so forth. They must always be paid and on time. So it's not something like I feel like not paying one of those.
We get a lot of those.
Yeah, I will catch up later on.
Sure.
Then the negative side of it will actually catch up with you the time you actually want credit facility. So not to have a lot of accounts also, it does assist. If you have something like a credit card, for example, try to limit your expenditure to less than 50%. Because in that way, credit grantors can see that you're not heavily relying on debt just to make ends meet. You know. And check your credit score now and again, and just to make sure that everything is in par, there isn't any funny activities and so on. And also try to reduce debt. You don't want to have a lot of debt. So that's one of the things that can assist in improving one's credit score.
There's this misconception that because let's say you owe 100 Rand, that's the loan amount that you have, versus let's say a home loan of 1 million.
Yeah.
If I skip the 100 Rand payment, I'll be fine. But as long as I pay that, does that also impact? Does the amount impact?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Or does it, depend on what you pay or how you pay?
Yeah. You see, credit providers look at it this way. If you pay your stuff on time, irrespective of how much the amount is, you are actually proving yourself to be eligible and trustworthy. So it could be a small account like you pay Woolworths maybe 300 rands and you skip that. Next time when you want to obtain finance for a vehicle, it might have a negative impact because why would you skip that? So, you know, it's a simple concept, like whoever is faithful in what is small will also be faithful in something that is big.
Sure.
So, yes, a bigger debt might seem to be more important, so you have to pay that on time. But you actually even have to pay your smaller accounts, because they have a positive contribution onto your overall credit score, behavior, history, and you know, they do look at those things when they do credit facilitation.
Is there a way then that people can tamper with credit scores to manipulate the system, or is it just a plain black and white thing? You didn't pay on the 15, your credit score goes down by how many points?
Yeah.
Is there things that people should avoid in trying to tamper with credit scores?
The number one thing that a person should avoid is to do multiple applications or multiple credit inquiries in a short space of time. Because each time you do that, it actually speaks to your credit score, you know, and a lot of people don't know this. They go into one dealership, they apply for finance, then they at that other dealership, and so on and so forth.
Okay.
And you know, the banks will ultimately know and see that this person is actually shopping around. It creates a negative impact, and you know, you actually lessening your chances of getting an approval. So it's very important that if you identify a vehicle, you make research as to when and how and where you actually would want to buy the car, and then just approach the dealership and don't start looking around, you know,
Sure.
because that will impact negatively on your score.
So in summary, it's okay to look around five
Yep.
different cars or whatever, but it's not okay to do 5 different applications
Yep.
like the same week. You go to this manufacturer and so on and,
And
so on. And so
yeah,
on.
not advisable.
Wow. Earlier on, you spoke about accounts that need to be paid. Let's say, I mean, I get this a lot.
Yeah.
Guy comes to me, no, I've got no accounts. I've got nothing. I buy everything cash. Is that good when someone wants to get credit?
Yeah.
What does the bank see when someone has got zero credit history?
Yeah. Look, obviously credit score is one of the things that the financial institution would look at to determine whether they've got risk appetite, the deal is viable or not. Credit score is actually made by credit history, which is made by a person's number of accounts, or even one account can assist. So as much as people might think that it's good not to have any accounts whatsoever, but then when you want to obtain credit, it becomes difficult, because now the credit grantor does not know your history in terms of how you behave when someone grants you credit. So now they don't have anything to rely on. So they don't know if I give under 1,000 rands, how will he behave around it? Will he stick to the arrangement? Will he pay over 6 months and stick to that arrangement? So it becomes a bit of a challenge. Whereas if you have an account or two, then they can make reliance on that to see your behavior. So it's quite important to actually have an account.
To have an account.
Yeah, 1 or 2 accounts would be
Even
good.
if it's like a clothing account. or
Like a
something.
clothing account, exactly,
Just so they
cell
can
phone
see.
account,
Yeah.
just so they can see. And credit card, but I would advise not to, because people often make personal loans, you know,
Oh,
and
yes.
those impact negatively. You find that they make multiple personal loans in a short space of time, and the credit provider looks at that person as someone who relies on credit to actually go buy, and is not able to use his salary to manage his income and expenses well, so that, you know, and of course it happens sometimes you might need a personal loan. It's understandable, you
Sure.
know, we're not saying people shouldn't get personal loans, but it's something to keep in mind also.
Is there a difference between then a personal loan and someone that's basically living on an overdraft, for instance? So does the bank look at a personal loan better than they would look at someone that perhaps is living on overdraft? Or how does that impact your score?
Look, at the end of the day, it's still debt. Okay. So whether it's a personal loan, or it's a credit card, it's an overdraft, and there's nothing wrong in having these, because if they are, it's one of the most important debt that assists a person with regards to building a credit profile. The most important thing is that it's manageable, and it's not maxed, and it's actually used for the right purpose.
Okay.
You know, so that's what they will always look at. And how will they see that? They will see when they check your record that you are paying it on time, you are avoiding to have it maxed, you look like you're not using it every time, you use it when you need it, you know.
Sure.
So those are good signs that the person has got a good habit and manages their debt accordingly.
an interest rate? How does that fit into the kind of score that you get? How does a bank determine what interest rate a client should get when they come buy a car or a house?
Yeah, interesting one. So interest rate also speaks to, you know, your credit record, your credit history, and the way in which you manage accounts. So obviously, the more higher your score is, the more eligible you are to negotiate better rates. And if you've got a poor score, then you know your interest rate might be also higher because you are deemed to be a high risk person.
Okay.
So if you maintain a good credit score and you apply for credit, then you're in a better position to negotiate better approval conditions such as your rate and so on.
So Anda has been naughty. Anda has taken out a clothing account.
Yeah.
I've maxed it out at whatever 1,000, and I haven't been paying this, so it's in arrears for 8-9 months, and I've all of a sudden gotten myself some money.
Yeah.
Let's say I owe 10,000, and I've all of a sudden gotten 10,000, and I decide, you know what, I'm going to pay this this clothing account, and I'm going to close it. Is that advisable, or do you think that I should maybe pay 2 or 3 installments just to get myself into a positive or something? Or if I pay it off, how long after that can I then go and look for other credits?
Normally, if you're in a situation like that, you rehabilitate yourself. It could take anything between 3 months to 6 months before you could be eligible to obtain credit. However, I wouldn't necessarily advise that you just go about taking that chunk of money and closing it. Unless if the account is a bit problematic, it has impacted negatively on you, so you've got financial constraints because of it, you can't manage it, then it would be a good thing to actually, close it. But the best thing to try and do from the beginning is to educate yourself before you enter into any sort of credit transaction. Why do you need it? What is expected of you? Because the credit grantor plays their part in awarding you that credit, and you have to play your part to honor those payments on a monthly basis, because it's a contract that you enter into and you have to honor that. And it's very important because when you have a long-standing relationship with your credit providers and you want to apply for a vehicle finance, they also look into that. They can see, okay, this person manages a relationship well, so and they do understand sometimes it could be a mistake, and then one of your accounts are 1 month in arrears, things do happen. As long as there's an explanation towards it, we can always look into it and motivate around it, and but it doesn't have to be habitual, If it's 3 months, 4 months, 9 months, then it looks like the credit grantor struggled to get this guy to pay. So it's a bad sign. So now, if you are not able to pay your Woolworths account that maybe they've given you 10,000, that you have to pay 500 every month, and you come apply for vehicle finance, which is 600,000 or $1 million, you pay 10 to 16,000. How am I going to trust that you're going to be able to pay that
if
much
you are struggling to
when
pay
you couldn't?
600?
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's something that we get a lot. Me and you are in the industry, we work quite closely together. And also, let's narrow it down to our industry. I need to buy a car. I am fresh out of varsity. I've just gotten a new job. I really don't have any credit, but I'm a professional. I'm a young lawyer, a young doctor. Does the bank look at that and say, okay, well, this guy is, although he's new in terms of working, he's got no history really, because as a student you don't really take out loans and stuff like that. Well, you shouldn't anyway. But I want to buy a car. I need a car for work. Does the bank overlook those things because I've got a good job? I'm now a medical professional.
Or an accountant.
Or an accountant or a lawyer. Does the bank overlook that?
You know what? That's a very interesting question. As much as credit score, plays a role in one obtaining finance. However, someone who is just out of varsity, for example, and they just graduated, the bank actually does look into applications of those nature, because those are professionals, so it plays a positive impact. So there's an extent of reliability or trust that a person who has got that type of a profession will be able to know how to manage their finances. So we've had instances whereby a person just graduated, they've got employment contract, you know, we can ask for a dummy pay slip just for us to see how much, the person would be getting. And as you've said, it's a student, they don't have any credit obligations, you know, that would be a stepping stone for them to start building one's record. So we do have scenarios of that nature, and credit actually can look into that, and they can qualify for credit.
Okay, so what do I bring to you now? I've shopped around 6-7 dealerships.
Yeah.
I've found my perfect car. I want to show off to my friends, but I need to get past this credit thing, this application, this get finance. What do I bring to you when I come and do an application?
Fundamental requirements will always be an application form, which would obviously obtain from a dealership, and then most importantly, proof of income. Proof of income could be employment contract for someone who's newly employed, a pay slip, a recent one, 3 months bank statement, proof of address, and then if a person is a commission earner, I would like to have probably 6 months bank statements, 3 latest pay slips, because you know we have to average it out, and you would also have to have, if you are a sole proprietor, you won't have the proof of income, you'll use the bank statements. But if you are a registered business like a PTY or a CC, would also need business registration documents, would also need business account, bank statement, so for the director and for the owner, because we have to look at both, because as the owner of the business, you are the business. So because most people think that I can apply in my business name and I don't have to provide anything, you still have to do that.
So if my business is making like $1 million a month, but I'm just bad with my credits, will that be a problem?
It will be a problem because the financial institution sees you as the owner of the business, so you run the business. So how would you now be trusted with getting finance in the business name, whereas your personal finances are not up to date? So it's important the business will have its own credit record that should be managed and maintained accordingly, and same should be a director or the member of that corporation.
There's so much information that we've shared today. Where can people access this information? Is there a website that they can go to and just read up at their own leisure?
Look, Google always is a good platform to find information related to credit. In fact, TransUnion has got, I don't know if they still do, but they were in the habit of giving people a free credit report once a year. And then from there they can look at what accounts they have, are they paying them on time, and so on and so forth. There's Experian, there's also ClearScore, So those are good platforms that also the financial institutions are using to try and see a person's, credit history. They don't rely on like Experian only. There's multiple of these, and they look at different because they've got different scores and different history.
Okay. Yeah. Before we let you go, Moja, just let us know. Just advise some people, because people mishandle money. And I think also we've come from COVID and it's been difficult and people are still recovering. What are some of the do's and don'ts going forward in terms of how you should manage your funds and manage your money? If you are, in the likelihood of buying or seeking credit in the future?
All right. That's a very interesting question. I've got a leaflet here. I'll just go through it. Sure. It speaks about simple factors that makes up a person's credit score.
Sure.
So that would be payment history, how a person manages accounts, and too much debt, which a person should avoid. Negative information such as defaults and judgments, should be avoided. Length of credit, if you've got credit at a short space of time and you want to obtain credit, it's a bit of a negative thing there, because the more credit you have, it shows that you are a reliable person, Number of new accounts also we spoke about, opened at a short space of time, impacts negatively. However, what should a person do if they want to boost their credit score? Then simple tips: pay your account on time, the exact amount that you always, no skipping. Maintain available credit that you have. I've made an example of credit card. Don't use over 50%. Look, sometimes you will, use over 50%, but try and manage it accordingly. And if it's mixed, if you can, the next month try to, reduce it significantly. And maintain a good mix of credit, telephone account, clothing account, and so on and so forth. And also check your credit report. When you check your credit report, you are not making an inquiry for a credit transaction, so it doesn't impact on your score. So you have to do that because you need to know how's your score doing, what's your behavior, are your accounts being updated, because sometimes it happens that it's not updated, then you speak to the respective credit provider so that they can update it accordingly.
What's a good score?
A good score, look, to be eligible for finance on a vehicle, anything just over 600 you can, but your approval conditions might be a little bit steep. And then if you are just to 700, that's regarded as a fair score. From 720 upwards is actually good and excellent. So that's where you can apply for finance, and then the system can approve it just like that before a credit manager could actually look into your deals.
To say exactly what's been
so above 700,
you sharp.
Below 7, Below 7, it's so, but you can still obtain credit.
Sure.
But your approval conditions might not be as favorable as someone who is, above 7.
And that will impact on your interest rate, like
interest
we
rate,
mentioned
yes,
before.
exactly.
Before again, okay, I'm really going to let you go now.
No problem.
Where can people get a hold of you if they want to just have a chat? Outside of this platform.
Okay.
Is there a number that they can call you on, or something, or email address?
Yeah, my email address is mojalefapr@gmail.com. The only social platform that I make usage of is LinkedIn. My personal phone is also there, so they can connect with me via LinkedIn, via email, and whichever question they might have, I'll always be happy to assist.
Awesome stuff. Mojalefe Rathulo, business manager at BMW East London. Listen, guys, I would encourage everybody to leave a comment. There's always a question when it comes to credits. It changes all the time. It's very, very complex. I mean, I had a lot of people asking me to do an episode like this to address these issues. So please drop us a comment down below, and please share this video with your friends as well, or anyone else perhaps that's in a non-favorable situation when it comes to credit. And of course, we'll try our best to answer. Moja, of course, like you said, you can get him on LinkedIn, mojalefapr@gmail.com.
Yep.
You can catch him there and drop your comments, and we'll do our best to try to answer those ones. Once again, thank you so much for watching. Thank you again for this. 1,000 subs, we're going for 2,000, right? 2,000 by the end of this month. Let's try that, the end of June. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you guys again next time.